Hey everybody, and thanks for watching me tonight. And I got a lot going on, and so I'm gonna just kind of tell everybody what is actually going on, what's going on in my life, and how it's affecting everything that I'm doing at this moment. So, to say the least, what's actually going on right now is the fact that I am starting a new path. I'm taking a new journey. I'm leading the way to what I feel is going to be the next big step for me. And what my plan is to I'm creating this new website, and it's actually the journey that I feel that God is going to point me in. And although I'm still working on the development and still getting videos in there and trying to find a way of making things work, I'm on that path to making it happen. The thing that I'm trying to do is I'll get right to the point. So what I want to do is I want to be able to have interviews with different people. It's gonna start out very basic. You'll see us sitting around with microphones, headsets on, and we'll be going around like a table, and we'll be talking. I've got some people already lined up, and it's going to happen after the first years when I'm going to concentrate on getting these things going. So my main objective here is to seriously like take a step forward and sit these people down and have them tell us about who they are, where they came from, and how what was the journey that they took to be closer to God, or what was it that made them, give their life to our Savior Jesus Christ and to become this, to have the Spirit Lord in them. And I'm going to interview all types of people. And I have a few people that I want to bring in that are like, they have science. It's the science that is just in them. I've got one guy at work who's incredibly smart, and I really am like really excited about getting him together. So keep in mind that when this first happens, the video is going to be there, but you'll be able to also listen to us talking not only on video, but we're going to actually put it out on a podcast so people can hear the conversation maybe while they're at work or whatever, so they're not being distracted from watching it on video. But my main thing is to keep it, with YouTube and the podcast itself. So my biggest I guess I would say the biggest thing I got right now is knowing that this is the path that uh, God wants me to take. He's had this path, but I've never gotten it in my head at all that I'm able to do this. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't have any idea what direction I was going to go in. And so, with that being said, with everything that is actually going on, I'm going to be able to do things that I've never been able to do before. And that is to be able to concentrate on exactly the direction that I feel that the Lord is putting me in. And that's exactly the path that I'm going to take. And so, with this new being able to talk to people, and it's a way for me to minister to the people out there who might be curious about how even I found my way to Christ. And even though my story goes back a lot, and then I go through a lot of tragedies, and then I get really incredibly sick myself, and I almost die, and all these things that in the last couple of years has just been like moving along, and here it is, God's talking to me, and I don't hear it. I hear it, but I just completely like oblivious to what's actually going on. And so, with that being said, just to give you an idea how I came to this. So, I done podcasts in the past. It's a podcast radio station that was actually very successful at the time, and we talked about everything. I mean, from paranormal to political, but one of our top shows it was called the Morning Meltdown. We were on the air from 5:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock, and we talked about different subjects and had a lot of fun doing it. However, my co-host, he just couldn't keep going on with it because he had a family, he was going to school, and he had a life that he was literally doing. And anyway, we did podcasts in the past, and at one point we were on the air for quite a long time, about 7 years. And then my co-host, he ran into life problems, and it caused a lot of problems, like not in our friendship, but he wasn't able to literally, do the shows like he used to because of his life events that was happening, kept him distracted. So when he left, he basically said, "Hey, I got to deal with this stuff. I'm not going to be able to do these shows anymore." It was totally understandable. So I got another co-host. It went on for probably about a year and a half, and then that started to fizzle out a little bit. I had other co-hosts, and some of them were really fun, and some of them were a disaster, believe me. But so our podcast station was really doing well at one point, and then it kind of just started gradually going down to the point where in 2015 was the year that I literally kind of closed the door on this. And by closing the door, I just couldn't get engaged in any shows or anything like that. So it didn't really die out because our podcasts were still out there. There were still lots of them out there. And I was actually pretty amazed that some of them even made it out there. And we got a lot of shows still that were recorded and all this other stuff. And it was just a great time. Okay. So, um, in soon after 2015, I actually then I was that right before 2000. Yeah, it was around 2015. I went back into the work field, and I was working and doing the things that I needed to do. And so in it wasn't soon after that, then me and my wife Jody were going through some marital problems at the same time. And and it's, you have to learn to accept responsibility. And, that's kind of what I did. So I decided that I wanted to go back to church. I wanted God back in my life. Now, there's a lot of stuff in the past that can lead up to this, and I will be sharing this stuff with everybody. But here's the deal. You really have to understand that there's this trail, there's this path. And I didn't realize it till just recently. So Chris and I have been talking over the last couple of years about trying to get the radio station up and going, trying to get traction and stuff. And he's out, he's doing his thing, he's busy all the time. So we really can't get our time to sync because I'm working full time. He's working, he's doing his thing, he's working on farms, um, and doing all sorts of other things. And the thing about it is one day, I've been like leading up to it. I've already had, I knew that I wanted to restart the radio station, get it going, but it was going to be a process because it's a huge commitment to anybody that does it. So I literally came to the point where um, I was just trying to find a way to do it. And I just couldn't find that way. I couldn't figure out how I was going to get there to that point. I just couldn't figure it out. And, even though we talked about, hey, when we do this, maybe we can move to, like, anywhere, and come together. And I had this plan. And this plan is that I wanted to eventually have a radio station inside a building, or that I could set it up and I could do these different shows. And by doing the different shows, I always thought it would be really good to have the ability to have a nice surrounding, quiet, not a lot of noise or anything like that happening at the time. But my biggest goal in this whole thing was to make it so it was going to be easy. Now, I started thinking, how is Chris going to get in this? How can I do this on my own? So one night, just recently, him and I were talking, and we were, I was sitting in the kitchen and I was sitting at the counter and we're talking on the phone. I'm looking down at the corner, the counter, and I'm just like, when is this going to work? We talk about this all the time. We never can come together. And Chris says something, he goes, well, maybe we can do a show on Sunday. And I said, yeah, Sunday would be great. We could find time, but I have to, I could do it Sunday mornings. I could get up like say 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8, maybe we can do something, or maybe 7 to 10, or we can do maybe 8 to 10. And he says, oh no, I can't do that. I can't get up that early on Sundays. And I'm like, well, that's really the only time. Well, what about later in the afternoon for you? Hey, I go to church. After I get out of church, sometimes I go see my son. Other times I'm spending time with my family. Just like him, he's doing the same thing. And he goes out and does recreational things. He's spending time with his family and all this other stuff. And I'm just sitting there, and I just couldn't believe, what I was hearing. And then all of a sudden, there was this thought inside my mind. I said, it looks like I got to do this alone. I know that I'm supposed to do this at this time, but I didn't know that there was something pushing me to keep doing it and keep doing it. So that night, I just, after him and I stopped, hung up and called it a night. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, God, we're never going to do it. We're never going to get together. This is never going to happen. And I need this to happen. This is what I want to do. And I love doing this. I love doing what I'm doing now. And it was just awesome to be able to have that feeling in my mind. And then, so the events that are going to happen now is exactly what triggered, everybody has these triggers that happen in their life, and this trigger for me was something that was just really incredible. And this trigger happened because I knew the direction that God wanted me to do. He wants me to go this route. This is the route he wants me to take. And there's nothing else more than he wants. That's what I thought after this all happened. So let me tell you. So that night I was having a hard time falling asleep. I really couldn't figure out what it was that I had to do. And I got up the next morning and I was on my way into work, and I happened to pull up this video. A friend of mine at work, we were talking, and I briefly heard this one girl on TikTok. She was talking, and her name was Sadie. And I had brought it up to a friend of mine at work, and this is before this all happened. So I knew, I didn't know who she was, but I know that she was with Duck Dynasty or something like that. But I heard a little bit on TikTok of her, and there was something she said that kind of sparked me to talk to my friend. So anyway, on my way into work, I pulled up a video of her, and it's basically her testimony on how she came to be where she is today. And she was talking about this in the Bible, when I think it was Paul, where they were trying to fish and they weren't catching anything. And Jesus was down there, he was talking to the people, and he ended up getting in the boat with Paul. And he sat there and he told Paul, catch your nets on the other side of the boat. And Paul says, my Lord, we did this all night, we just not catch anything, and this is just not gonna, it's not gonna happen. Jesus said, just throw your nets on the other side. And of course they caught a bunch of fish. And this young lady said something in there, and she says, so what does the nets represent? What is holding you back? What is the one thing that's holding back that you want to do, but something keeps holding you back? And so it was really amazing to me at the time, because I was thinking, Lord, I go, what she's saying makes total sense. I felt this, it was kind of like this big old, like, oh, what is it that's, what is it? What is it that's holding me back? And what an analogy of it was just making more sense. The more she kept talking, I felt like I'm really hearing her, you know? And then I think back all that time in the last, 8 months that I had been going back to church and stuff, and I'm going every Sunday, and I'm hearing, I'm hearing the pastor talk. I'm getting these little bits and pieces that are coming at me, and I'm starting to hear, I'm starting to open and everything. And then, of course, when Sadie, she had talked about this, and then there was a part in there that I don't even know exactly, but this is how I heard it. She says, she goes, there, do something that you're positive about, do something that you're passionate about, something that you're real good at, and if you're really passionate and you can use this as a tool to minister to people, and tell people your testimonies, and get to know other people and all this other stuff. Get out there and do, serve Jesus, serve him. You're supposed to serve. When you give your heart to him, you serve him. And I was just like, whoa, my God. And and then I got at work, and this was just so much on my mind. It was just boiling over. You have no idea how distracted I was that whole entire day. So all through the day, and all of a sudden I started having these ideas like, okay, so I'm going to get this podcast up and running. I know that this is the path that God wants me to follow. Maybe I wasn't 100% sure, but what happened next when I got home from work that night? So I got home from work, and I was still kind of just like, oh my God, this is just completely, like I said, it was just complete, like, knowing there's this thought in my head, and I felt like there's this push to do something, and I wasn't sure. And now keep in mind, I know that God's talking to me. I know that he's sitting there, like he's pushing me, and like a lady at work, I was talking to her, God's pushing me, and she goes, he's helping you along, he's generally, I go, oh, no, he's pushing me. And I was, my confidence was growing. I was getting excited about this. Okay, so when I got home that night, I was sitting in my chair, and I had this thought, and I was actually watching this TV show, but I really wasn't watching it. What I was doing is I was on TikTok. I know TikTok, and I started noticing there was these other people talking about God, and reading scriptures from the Bible. And there was this one lady who I always watch all the time when she says, let's pray. And sometimes I flip by her, and all of a sudden I go, I got to go back. I got to pray with her. So I pray with her. So I'm sitting there going through, also my phone rings, and I look at my phone, and I'm going, it's Terry. This is Terry. I haven't talked to him in a while. I wonder, wow, this is really good. And in my mind goes 100 miles an hour. You got to understand, I'm an overthinker, and I'm overthinking this before I'm answering the phone. Let me tell you a little about Terry. When I had the podcast back in the years, he paid for a lot of the fees that we had. He paid for, like, the platform that we were working on. He paid for licensing to make sure, like, if we played any copywritten music, that it was going to be okay. And he did all that. He took care of that, and he was actually a driving force with me. He was like a mentor with me and pushing me in that direction. So Terry, he's ringing my phone, and I'm like, I get up the phone, and he's like, hey, Robert. He goes, you know who this is? And I go, yeah, I know who it is. Your name's on the phone. It's not like I forgot who you were, Terry. How you been? And he's like, good, good, good. So he says, yeah, I heard about what happened to you. And I kind of said, like, sarcastically, well, if you heard, why is it now? It's been 2 years. Why are you calling me now? And he goes, well, you know, anyway, that's what I said in my head. And then he's like, he says, so tell me what you've been doing. And I go, well, I went back to work after I got sick, and I actually filled him in what happened to me. And he was just like, man, you are so lucky. He goes, you're a walking miracle. And I go, yeah, that's what people say on me all the time. So I'm just like, oh man, I can't believe Terry's calling me. And I never thought I'd hear from him again. I mean, we were friends, and I just, it's a two-way street. I'm as guilty as he is. We kind of said that in our conversation. But anyway, so he's like, he's saying to me, so what are you going to do? And I go, well, I'm going to continue to work. He goes, well, whatever happened to the radio station? I said, it's there, but it's not doing anything. I mean, I put articles in there. I really want to steer away from the political side. I'm just so sick and tired of the political. And believe it or not, in the weeks leading up to this, I completely disconnected myself away from watching YouTube that has any kind of news, what's going on in our world, because it was dragging me in so heavy, and I wanted no part of it. We know why, right? We know why. So Terry goes, so what are you going to do? And I go, I don't understand the question. I just said I'm going to work. He goes, no, what do you want to do? And I said, really like to get the podcast up and going again, but I want to use video this time. But I've got everything pretty much I need, but there's a few things I need. So because I have a different idea. And he goes, well, tell me about it. And I go, well, I'd like to get and be able to interview people. Maybe, instead of doing it, at my house, which I really don't want to do that because my house is under construction. It's a mess. And I said, it's just this thing that I want to do. Most of all, I just really want to do this. And he goes, well, tell me about it. And I said, well, what I want to go do is I want to reach out to people. I want to sit down at a table and have a video of us both. Now I'm only going to be able to use. I only got one video camera, which is but there's a few other things I need to be able to make it happen. He says, well, tell me what you need. And I gave him a list of stuff. This is what I need. I need this. I need that. I need a couple of microphones, some headsets. And there's this one thing I want to get because I think it would be really good, instead of just, talking on a camera. At least when you're talking to people, you can hear their voices clearer when it's on video. So he goes, all right. He goes, all right. He goes, and I said, here's the deal. I go, Chris just doesn't have the time to do a lot of the stuff that we want to do. And he says, listen, he goes, the days of you and Chris are pretty much at an end, because he goes, it's not that you guys can't be friends, but it just means that you guys are living two different lifestyles. He works, he's got his family, he's a very busy man. And I did tell him about his wife and stuff, but he goes, listen, he goes, get this. He says, don't let him hold you back. What is it when Sadie said? What is the one thing that's holding you back from doing what you want to do? And it was Chris, because I love Chris. He's my best friend. And in a way, I don't want to do it without him, but he's not ready. He's got things. He's got life. He has things that he needs to take care of. That's why he doesn't have the time to commit like I do. I have time to commit, but I have to do it at my times that's convenient for me. And setting up schedules and having these interviews with different people. And that's really, really what it's really all about. And so I came to this conclusion, and I'm sitting there, I'm listening to him. And all of a sudden, right out of the blue, he says, listen, I'm going to send you the stuff you need. I go, dude, you don't have to do that. I can't afford it. I just can't afford it. He goes, I didn't ask you for nothing. I want you to do this. I want you to be able to get out there and do the things that you need to do. And he goes, and I think you got a real good idea. It's going to take you a little bit, but he goes, you're very creative. You were very, very successful at this the last time. He says, you just need a shove. You need something to push you ahead. And I said, yeah. And all of a sudden it was like an explosion right at that moment. And Terry said, Robert, are you still there? And I go, Terry, dude, I know now. I know. And he goes, what's going on? I said, dude, I know now. I know this is what he wants me to do. And I know this is the path that God has chosen for me to take. I know that this is where I want to do more than anything. I'm good at it. I'm passionate about it. I have the ability to talk to people. I have the ability to sit down and have a conversation, an intellectual conversation with people and talk about different subjects that I'm passionate about, what they're passionate about, and get to know the people, to sit down. What was their path? How did they become who they are? What brought them to God? And that's what and Terry's like, this is you. This is who you are. He goes, this is the Robert that I knew years ago, very passionate, driven, and you made it. You were the one that made it successful. Don't count on other people to make it. You can do this. You don't need to have a bunch of people to do this, just like I'm talking right now. People will see this video. I'm very passionate about it, and I really want to go in that direction. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's this journey that I'm on. So in the months to come, there's going to be videos of me talking to different people. And I really, truly, and strongly want this to be the one thing that I can minister to people all over the world and let them know what other people are going through, what their lives are, what was the ups and downs in their life. I'm going to be the one steering that interview, and I'm going to be asking people, the questions. Hey, so tell me about, what was your childhood like? Where did you grow up? How did you meet your wife? What was it that, what was the one thing that brought you to Christ? What was the worst time in your life where you thought that Christ wasn't there for you, that maybe you just felt lost and whatever. And those are the things I want to talk about. And so, and over time, I'm going to be reaching out to people out there in, like other people who are out there who are struggling. I'm going to be able to have the ability to have people come in and, maybe schedule a meeting with me. And that's exactly, and then I can literally look at people, talk to people and say, hey, let's do an interview, and we can do it over Zoom. And, because it doesn't matter at this point, it really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. What matters at this point is the fact that I can do this, and I know that I can do this, and I feel that I can do this. So this is the direction that I want to take, and this is the direction that I'm going to take. And that's just how I feel at this point. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like this is the path. I've never felt this excited in my entire life, because now I know that he is there and he is pushing me down this path because he knows I'm good at it, I'm passionate about it, and he knows this is something I can do. And this is how I can, do what I said before. This is how I can reach out and myself becoming closer and closer to the Lord. So that's my story. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hey, remember, just get people to follow me, share me with everybody. You don't have to like it. Just subscribe to my channel, and I'll keep you up to date. And then soon I'll let you know when the website's done, and then you can become maybe part of that, go see interviews. But I'm, nowadays it's going to be YouTube, maybe Facebook. I'm not too crazy about Facebook, as much as I used to be, but I know that there's people out there who will follow me. So you guys have a wonderful night. God bless, and thank you for listening. I wish everybody a happy New Year. It's almost New Year's. And by the way, I'm going to be doing a show on our radio station I think New Year's Eve, if then nothing else is happening. So thanks a lot, guys. God bless.